Testing, one, two, three.
Testing, one, two, three.
We're live. Open chat Friday. Got a lot to cover. Let us begin. Lord's Prayer. Boy, we need more than ever. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, glory, yours now and forever. In your Son's name, our King, Lord, and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As I say to you all the time, you have to learn how to die before you can truly live. You will notice that the media, I'm not going to propagate fear. The media does that more than enough. But what I'm saying to you is if you haven't read the Bible and read about anything in the Bible, first two books you should read is John and Matthew. Specifically, when you're reading, you have to understand John is very emotional, but it's from the heart. And a lot of times when you read John, you'll hear Christ say, I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. It's important to realize he's telling you the truth. When you read Matthew, he was a tax collector for the Romans. So it's very analytical, very accurate. It's good. So you have the yin and yang of it, right? Two testimonies of a man who basically died. It's the Son of God who died for us, for our salvation, to pay off our sin debt. So when you read Matthew specifically, there are several things that you really should take note about the testimony in the Gospel of Matthew. Prayer is life's greatest time saver. And when you pray, obviously, the Lord's Prayer is not bad, but pray with your heart. God knows what's in your heart. Okay? You can just do the Lord's Prayer, and He knows what you are thanking Him for, but He also knows what you need. Okay? That's important. God blesses us so that we might bless others. So Lord knows how much blessings He's done for me in my life many, many times over, including this lunatic here, right? I never thought I'd be blessed with such a smart, loving dog again. But that's how God works. Obedience always brings a blessing. Exodus 23. Read that. The Ten Commandments. Jesus did not say, you can forget that. He didn't say that. Okay? He wants you to obey the law. Okay? The reason why people will attack you is because you're faithful to the law. They are not. Those other people are not. So it's easy to make fun of you and disgrace, but then reflect in the mirror on themselves and what they're really doing. And they know what they're doing. Okay? It's been laid out. There's a hard path and there's an easy path. You're going to find out that the hard path is right, and it really is not so really hard. Okay. And then if you're a Christian and you're saved, you have an eager anticipation of the Lord. Returns keep us living. The eager anticipation of Christ coming again keeps us being productive and keeps us being prepared, awake, and alert to things that are coming. Okay. Now, as I mentioned to you before, if you, I'm not a doctor, not. I will state scientific fact though. Okay, number one, how many flu deaths were there last year? How many flu deaths were there this year? Mhm. Number two, okay, you can do simple math on this. Don't believe me. Don't believe me. Just do your investigation yourself. Any surgical mask, I need 2 masks, but I need 4 masks like that. We're not talking about full face respirators with a face shield, stuff that they would use, for example, to paint Amron. Okay, not talking about that. Some of those powered respirator systems filter the air down to 0.02 microns. Okay, because it's extremely hazardous to breathe that epoxy paint. Essentially, it's you mix in a chemical hardener into your lungs. That's right. If you inhale it, that paint will not come out of your lungs. It'll give you emphysema, okay, and basically kill you. There's lots of other things in the industry. So for example, okay, flux core welding, okay. If you're not outside and there's not a breeze, which is a very good place to do that kind of welding. It's very hard to do MIG welding, which is using an inert gas, okay, usually argon, CO2, something like that, mix 25, 75, to shield, prevent oxygen from attacking your weld, okay. Instead, they have materials inside the core that basically do the same thing. But those materials are extremely hazardous to your being, okay? Hazardous to your lungs. Thank you very much, everybody. Heather, Jim. So, yeah. Now, the thing, so when you're welding, believe it or not, even with your face shield, you have to wear safety glasses, you have to have full leathers, and you have to wear a mask. Yeah. An actual respirator mask. Okay, not dust mask ain't gonna do it. Okay. What does this mean when I'm telling you, and you can check this out for yourself, that to prevent yourself from inhaling any of these particulates, which you can see the smoke. That's right. The mask, whether you want to wear it or not, does not, I repeat, not give you any kind of protection against a virus that is 0.125 micron in size, or for that many, any viruses, okay, which can be as high as 0.7, 8, 0.8, even 1. At best, an N95 mask is going to filter you down to about 35 to 40 microns. At best. Okay. There is no standard by which these so-called fabrics and everything else have been made. But I can tell you specifically that I've seen many people wearing a mask with vents cut into them. Now, granted, they might be one way, but that means that their exhales are going right out and only their inhales are being filtered by, maybe it's saving them from their algae season, okay, pollen, things like this, but it's not saving you from that thing. And so it's very important that you understand that, okay? Why am I saying this? The COVID virus is actually real, okay? But what you don't understand is there's many things kill it. Number one, it can't withstand 30 seconds of sunlight. So 30 seconds of direct sunlight will kill it. 30 seconds of being in a chlorinated pool will kill it. Okay? Same goes for the ocean. The alkalinity of the salt will kill it. All right? So there's lots of things that will kill it. Okay? However, with the spread of these immigrants, and at least 50% of them are positive throughout the country, okay? And you don't know who they are. Oh, no, Joy, I'll get into that. I just want to finish my topic on this, okay? So what does that mean? It means that stock up on Hotel Charlie, Quebec, and the Z-Pack and things like this. You want to have the vaccination and not have the vaccination. It's totally up to you. Discuss that with your doctor, okay? But there is a treatment. So obviously, you know, that's the key, to have that. NOJOY means negative, okay? Which means, what did I stipulate that I was going to do if Juan came on my show 107 and was interviewed? Remember, there's 4 of them, and was interviewed. Okay. Number one, I would submit questions to him. Okay. And I would have a free form discussion as far as, I'm looking at you, what you're saying here, I'm going to ask those questions. Those are that's what I do. Did that work out? Answer, no, haven't heard anything. See? What does that mean? Okay? It means that the one that you think you want to talk to, I do not, my personal opinion is, I have no data on this, but I do not believe that person's in country. Okay? I think they're someplace in the Caribbean. Okay? I don't know if you can see this. They're going to be shouldering the backbone of any conflict and or near conflict that happens. Because of the so-called precipice that we've been brought to by the so-called agenda to wake people up. If you think that I do not believe that, you're absolutely correct. I do not believe that. As I've stated to you for some time, I've had one-on-one conversations that were not divulging in any way. those are the people who are going to be put in harm's way. Those are going to be the tip of the sword. Some of them have children. Some of them have wives. Most of them have fathers and mothers. It's a tight group. I've known some of these people since the academy days, since 2006. So, no, I don't buy that this is a show. No, I'm not enjoying the popcorn. No, this is not a movie. There have been 2 CMEs that have come off the sun. They missed us, obviously, but in the terms of space, not by much, which means they missed us by about 4 or 5 days of where we were in our orbit. They're not even the big solar storms. There's a big one that went off on the backside. Big. That's a side away from us. The sun basically rotates every 27 days. It's now 13 days away from facing us. And the sun is showing signs every time it's been rotating. There have been more and more and more organizations of sunspots and solar storms and filaments. 3 days ago, a filament half the size of the sun let loose 9 degrees that way. If you're part of my Patreon page, I posted all too well of different specials that discuss exactly what is going to happen if we get hit with something like that. President Trump was trying to harden our electrical grid, which would have hardened it for both EMPs and CMEs. I understood why he was doing that, because at that specific point in time, an EMP from Iran was, or Korea even, was just as likely as a future CME from the sun. Except the difference is a CME we're going to have warning for, which means you'll have mostly 17 hours, but I say 8 to 20 hours, okay? Because there are certain things that can get here within 8 hours, okay? The Earth's shadow does not cover the sun. The Earth is a little baby next to the sun. I think somebody said, I think it's 8 billion Earths or something like that would fit in the exact space that the sun takes up, something like that. We can set up a satellite system of thousands of satellites to create an umbrella that would open up literally in minutes that could deflect a coronal mass ejection from the sun. Okay. And how it could be deflected is that all it would have to do is conduct, which means just a conductive layer of gold or aluminum. It could be gold because it only has to be 3 atoms thick. So, they did the same on the lunar module here. Anyway, the charge would induce an opposite field to that conductor. Okay, and by doing so, depending on the shape, you can deflect Okay. If it's a really huge solar flare, it would reduce its effectiveness by almost 1,000 times, which means it would make it manageable, make it like an M or K6 or something like that event, which would be manageable. It might knock out a so-called quadrant of the Earth that's facing the sun of power versus right now we have no protection. So if a CME hits us like the Carrington event, we will lose power throughout the entire world. Okay, the entire world will go dark. No electricity at all. None of your stuff will work. It's a reality. Okay. I'm not blowing sunshine up your butt. I'm telling you the truth. Because of the Earth's speed up, I said to you there was going to be a rise in volcanism. You've seen that rise. It has sped up again. What's causing the speed up is the galactic wave sheet is essentially hitting the solar system and charging it up like a capacitor. Our planet, really, you can consider it a dynamo, which is a primitive form of an electric motor. So as the solar system gets charged, it's creating this effect that's spinning the Earth faster. Okay, as it spins faster and there's more particle forcing, it makes fission and other types of energy want to get out of the system. That is expressed by volcanism and earthquakes. Okay, that's the way that is. Yeah, that's a solar eclipse, but that's not for the entire planet. The entire moon gets blocked out from the sun by the Earth because the Earth is 6 times bigger than the moon. But only specific region, like a shadow crossing on the Earth. And if you look at past eclipse, you'll see that shadow. Have a total eclipse, which means the sun is exactly, the Earth is exactly the right distance, the moon is exactly, yeah, it's not by chance, okay, that you have all these coincidences line up to where it's perfect, okay? I mean, what are the odds, right? Because it's written that if you look hard enough, you'll see the hand of God in everything. And if you do, you see tremendous mathematics, tremendous order, tremendous things which are not consistent with entropy. Exactly. Um, that's the major force of driving of the weather. Okay. Any of these greens tell you whatever. Ask them what company, Ford or Toyota or even Volkswagen, melted the last ice age. And for that matter, which refrigerator company, Frigidaire, whatever, froze the last ice age. And by the way, we know that just in the past 100 million years, there's been 5 ice ages. Okay. That's really the norm, by the way. Okay. So, yeah, it's the precession of the Earth, it's the orbit of the Earth, it's the activity of the sun, it's asteroids, it's comets, it's all the above. Now, does oil pollute? Answer, yes. It's not the CO2. No, it's other things. Okay. It pollutes the air, it pollutes the land, pollutes the sea, blah, blah, blah. No question. Okay. But the big thing is that it's extremely expensive. What you need is something that's going to be created that causes you to be moved 500 miles. That's a primer for $1. Okay, and you're going to only do that with superconductivity, room temperature, graphene superconducting capacitors, and special superconducting motors. In every state of those things, you have 100% efficiency. You have a 100% efficient motor, and you have 100% efficient charging of that capacitor. And the only thing you lose is friction with the road. And that means you have a very efficient system. You have a very efficient way of generating power then via nuclear, and you have a very efficient way of getting it around. Okay, but you don't lose anything in the transmission of that energy from your source. If you go with lifters, you go with a modular source. Trump was giving the green light on all this research. Biden canceled all of this work. It's like it was never done. Programs that were just about finished. Why? Because the Delta Sierras do not want you to have cheap energy. Because they make money. They make the greatest money. Even Harris is talking about charging you taxes for the miles that you drive a year. Oh, the excuse is that they're selling all these electric cars, so now they're going to have to charge you taxes on miles because they're no longer going to charge you taxes. Well, they're still going to charge you even more taxes on gas and diesel, but they're going to charge you taxes. So they're not going to lose their gravy train, the money that you never even see. And by the way, it's expensive. Even the EQS. Mercedes hadn't even announced how much the stupid car will be, but it's an S-Class, which means it's going to be $100-something thousand or more. Okay, but the platform that they've built and designed is going to be good for all their chassis, which means they're going to have one platform and then put different bodies on it. Will it work? They'll probably get about 400 miles out of it, maybe something like that. And with the DC charger, yeah, you could 80% probably could be recharged in about 15 minutes, but that's 80%. Not bad. But then you're talking about a battery that's only going to have 100,000 mile shelf life before you have to get a new one. That new battery is going to cost $15,000 to $20,000. Okay, most cars today will run. Well, I shouldn't say the new cars. I should say older cars, like my car and others. 200, 300,000 miles. My car could probably run 1,000,000 miles, but 250, 300,000 miles is not outlandish for a car if you maintain it. Okay. So yes, there's no maintenance on these cars. You still have brakes to change, stuff like this, and bearings to lube, but you then have to change out these batteries at 100,000 miles. That's a substantial expense. Not only warrantying the battery to 100,000 miles, which means what are these cars going to be worth after 100,000 miles? If you want to know, check on the first generation of Teslas. Okay. Yeah, but you have to understand the battery is the entire floor of the car. It's about 4 inches thick, and it has about 108 kilowatts of storage. Okay, something like that. So, but there's not enough lithium in the world to replace the billions and billions and billions of cars. Not going to do it. And also, you have to remember it took 45 years to set up the infrastructure for oil. So you have to have something that, first of all, if you went with the superconducting carbon and they figured out the exact combination of the graphene and just a little bit of the silver. I mean, literally, there'll only be like for one car, there'd be an ounce of this stuff, and then maybe a quarter ounce of boron. Okay, they use boron already as a nano friction a limiter. Essentially, they make very small balls. It's extremely hard, so they fit the billionth of a. The nano means billions. Okay, they fit into the little crevices of the metal and make the metal smoother. Can be fitting in those crevices. Thus, you're reducing the friction. Okay. But again, you by putting the cart before the horse. So say we have these systems tomorrow. Okay, if you don't change the infrastructure, you're adding 3 times more load to the infrastructure of the electric power grid. Okay, three times more. Yeah, so that's not going to work out. Okay, that doesn't work. Okay, and then how you going to do it logistically? Okay, like I've been driving all over the country because I didn't want to travel in there. I wanted to stay in my cubicle, my van, right? And I'm fine because of that. Okay, I didn't essentially quarantined, and so and there's plenty of truck stops to fill up, right? See what I'm saying? And at most of these places, I did see charging stations. I did not see them, the charging stations, in big long drives in the middle of nowhere, like the drive from um, Pensacola to Dallas. Okay, yeah, I saw truck stops, but I didn't see any charging stations at these truck stops. Okay, so that's a big problem because the country is big, right? You have 3,000 miles across and 1,500 miles this way. I'm not even talking Alaska. Okay. So before you do any of this, okay, you have to first create. The only reason why people are going to do something is if it costs them less money. Okay. Then the other thing you have to understand is that most of these batteries, the way they are designed now, especially some of the batteries, they're not really recycled. It costs more energy to recycle them than they're saving. Okay. And they're not counting on the energy that they're putting into making the batteries. So, yeah, it's junk science. Doesn't work. Okay. So, you first have to distribute cheap electrical power, where then everybody's saying, wow, I only pay $20 a month for my electric. It really does pay to buy an electric car. And the mass production like Volkswagen or GM or Ford, anybody, these guys would come out with this platform if the battery was graphene's cheap now. Okay. They've figured out how to make it. We have the best source of coal to make graphene. Okay. So this is how you do things. Okay. This is not how the Biden administration is doing things. They're going to this Paris Accords, which of course China, India, Vietnam, North and South. None of these countries have to abide by. And what are they doing? They're polluting. China puts out almost 3 times more CO2 than we do. 3, and we're not including India. India is about 2.5 times. They're probably going to surpass that this year. Okay. So if the CO2 is such a threat, then yeah, no, it's a money. All it is money. It's another way for them to make money on carbon taxing. It's another way for them to generate money. No, the real threat to the climate, the real threat to this earth is the sun. Okay. And that's what, anybody you talk to say, yeah, climate change is real. Yeah, we need to discuss things about the sun. Yeah. No, not see it. No. Because if the sun has a micronova event, that side that's facing the sun, every single tree, every single thing that can be combusted in 451 degrees will burn. That's happened before. Will burn. How much carbon do you think is going to be into the atmosphere when that happens? How much CO2 do you think's been entered into the atmosphere with these 60 volcanoes that have erupted? Yeah. Why don't you check that out? Why don't you realize how much CO2 one of them has put out? That's right. One volcano has put out more CO2 than the entire human population of this country does in a year. Just one. There's only been 60. Yeah. You're saying to me, well, Bob, how come they put out so much? Well, they're not discriminatory. They all the carbon, all the calcium carbonate, all the oil, anything, right? That's subluxating underneath the continental shelf is going down. It's going into the cauldron. It's melted. It's lighter than the other elements that are in there. It comes up to the top, okay? And that's very simple. I agree. One of them is definitely fraudulent. I don't think Rogers is, although I don't like him. Okay. And I've said my piece with him a long time ago. He's not a nice person. I thank him for his service, but he knows that already. I did not appreciate working for him. He's not a truthful person. Let's put it that way. As far as Anthony and JON, as it were, John's got a lot of pressure. He's got a lot of ghosts. I'm not going to turn around and put any kind of judgment on that because the only thing I would say is this. I would have, if I was going to do anything from the beginning, I would have turned out and realized that the only way to do this is to shine a light on everything from the start. That means come out early. 2016, after the election, he should have came out, made himself on that whole thing. He should have made himself known, and he should have been there with his wife and family on Trump's swearing in. Okay? And by then, he would have already been vetted. He would have already been has DNA checked. Everything would have been done already. Okay? And there would have been interviews with a lot of things about Hillary and their sins and everything else, and who tried to kill him, and who killed his father, and who killed his uncle. Yeah. Which, for my, that would have been enough. As far as fake alien invasion, no. The lizard people, or whatever you want to call them, are real. Okay? You can call them devils, you can call them demons, you can call them interdimensional beings from another thing. I don't care whatever you call them, they're real. They've been here for a long, long time, and they are real. Okay. I know the captain. I know the commander of the Nimitz personally. These guys both knew my father. They both knew my great uncle. My son met the commander. He had I met him at the first time I met him in person was at the United States Naval Academy. He has a very distinguished career, and he saw exactly the same exact thing as my father did in 1956. And my father told me this on his deathbed. Okay? His whole life, he didn't tell me about it. On his deathbed, he told me, what are they going to do to him? But he described to me the exact thing that I've seen in those footages that I read about. A book was written about the incident with my father in 1956 in Texas, by the way. Gordon Cooper was a good friend of my father. If you read about the incident that he had at Edwards, that was real too. Yeah, Dan's my cousin. Like I said before, there's so many coincidences. In 1947, you do not need 8 trucks, 3 DC-3s, 2 hangars, several hundred men to retrieve a balloon and stuff from that was launched with 2 guys in a Jeep. You also don't need to form one of the most top secret organizations that's still active today called Mike Juliet 12. And all these things, again, if you replay my video, you'll see they are all verifiable. Yeah, I've been approached by his people. If they wanted to be a guest, I was going to arrange it. Either call in. I can do anything. I left it totally open. However, the caveat was that there'd be no restrictions in my questions. Okay. That's the restrictions of my followers on my Patreon people. They had many questions that they wanted to answer. And I put it out. If you're watching this, I'm ready at any time. You know my number. Give me a call. I will debate anybody at any time because I talk about facts. If I do not know something, is what I say. I do not know. I'm not a doctor, not a medical doctor. I don't know. Do I know things? Yes. Do I know about quantum entanglements? Yes. Do I know about time travel? Yes. Do I know about photon processors? Oh, yeah. Do I know about lasers and Delta Echo whiskey? Oh, yes. All too well. Do I know about computers? Just a wee bit. I don't have. Yeah, that's. I did a video on that back in. Actually my second video that I posted on my Patreon page speaks exactly about that. Okay, that the kid by the side of the road, all the way back then. Okay, and that was, I don't know, 3.5, 4 years ago. Okay, did I sell it? No, I was selling my membership back then for $1 a month. Okay, dollar a month. My goal was to raise $2,000 a month, so I would be able to walk into a professional studio, have them do all the work, and me work on content and presenting myself and guests on matters that were most important to you, and an open forum. It could be call in or anything like that, right? Yeah, well, it definitely was not. It was all truth, but there's no surprises in any of it, right? We all see the signs. We all have done our research. We all know this. There was no. You have to be an idiot to not even going to from New York City to Washington D.C. to all these places and actually look and see what's going on. Okay, there's no question that there's a tremendous sect in the world that preaches and prays on a regular basis and does sacrifices to Moloch. Duh. Well, you have to understand. I've been doing computers now, seriously, for 53 years. Um, I've built them from scratch. I have repaired them. I have hooked up some of the first Cray Cell 5s, Cray XMPRs. I've done all kinds of things. Servers, wrote most of the front end device drivers for most of the Blade servers that are in use today. Um, that's a hard thing to say. Winged Identify says, Bob, how many clones do you think are running around in society today? I don't think there's a way to clone somebody and to transfer their entity like you see on, some of these sci-fi shows. I do think that there are some people who have been cloned for their organs from leaders, things like this. Is it possible to educate them? I think it's more possible to um, look for people who look like them, and then with plastic surgery and education, and I put it to you, Paul McCartney. If you think that's Paul McCartney, you're wrong. Paul McCartney died in 1966. Yep. That's Billy Shears. He won a contest as a Paul McCartney lookalike and talent contest. Look it up. If you don't believe me, there's a playlist on my site all about it. Now, is Billy Shears, or Fall as George would call him, a no talent musician? I would say to you that he's probably more talented than Paul was. Okay. No. I don't. No, no. Not enough time to do that kind of thing. And also, um, if he was clones with the technology, John was cloned, say, for example, there's no way to age him, right? Can't. He's. We're very close. We're the same age, basically. Okay. So, no. But it makes you wonder to think about how did David Rockefeller have, I think it's 13 heart transplants or 12? 12 or 13, I forget. Amazing. You got that many people to match. See what I'm saying? Yeah, I said this, Truth Post, yes. Billy Shears. And it's all in what, if you look at the album covers and everything else, it's all in there. Okay. So, yes, the real reason why John was killed, you'll notice that all pushed Charlie, Indiana, Alpha people, okay, pushed have the interesting novel of Catcher in the Rye. Okay, that's part of their programming. Because I think John was going to come clean. Same thing with George. I think George is going to come clean. And Ringo, he said it himself a couple times. So there's no question. Yeah, if you look at it, there. Not only that, you have to understand he was the real Paul McCartney was engaged to a very beautiful actress, and they were basically the same size. And then it's uh, it's it's all in a song. He blew his mind out in a car. You have to listen to the music. It's all there. Anyway, um, they that's why Linda Eastman. That's why he went back to his roots in Scotland. I don't think so. I wasn't. Um, I said to my sister, I was one of the ones who was because I worked in the planetarium. I had unique opportunities to access very sophisticated audio multi-track equipment, and I was able to, do a lot of reverse playing on things without wearing records out. And I said, something's up, something's something's definitely up. And then I started looking at all those things, and if you look at A Hard Day's Night, and you look at other things after that, and you'll see the difference. There's no question. So what I'm sad for is I'm sad for his family because I mean think about being anyway. That's what I'm sad for. And then um well they were forced into it. This was also part of the thing. Some people say he was murdered. That's possible too. Okay? Because you have to think about it. They were having more power than the queen. Yeah. Well, if you look at the details, you'll see that George Harrison would always refer to Paul as Fall. He would always say Fall. He said that for a reason. Fake Paul. I'm not saying that. And the other thing that makes me sad is, I mean, he's an extremely talented musician. Okay, there's no question. Singer, writer, everything. Very talented person. The person who is now, and he can't embrace that either. It's a very sad gig, really, when you think about it. But the other thing, there's actual genetic proof because Paul used to sleep with a lot of girls, and he got a girl pregnant, and there's no question he was a father. And she then her daughter went for genetic testing, and it didn't match up to the Paul now. Yeah, I know. Well, um, through my endeavors in my SA3 process and everything else, the the Paul that's Paul now is not very he's not very friendly. Okay, so the Paul McCartney that was before was very witty. He was very friendly, um, a skirt chaser, as it will. He was young, and I know this because I know this from firsthand testimony from Keith Richards. So anyway, no, if you do a voice print, I did it on past recordings to the new one's different. There's plenty of people. If you don't believe me, look at Mark Martell. Look at Rich Little, for example. There's plenty of people who can emulate the sound of somebody, but on voice print identification, no. Um, Wing definitely no. Most of your cattle today. They're essentially clones. They take a lot of the a lot of the a lot of the a lot of things are clones. Tomato plants, a lot of things are clones. That doesn't mean that the calves aren't born. That doesn't, but the organic cattle, like the places that I go to upstate, they're still, you know, they breed the best cow that they want with a bull who's just got good genes and good heritage is what they do. It's what dog breeders started doing in the Victorian era. It's where you had all these dogs. Yeah, that's not that. Yeah, I never bought that theory, Jim. I think it was more for control, and then it was something that the MI6 could hold over them at any given time. So, and yeah, the people think you're a nut if you say that. I'm just, they're telling the way it is. Okay. The funny thing, a lot of people thought that Keith Richards was a playboy. Once he met Patty, nope. No, his other mistress was drugs. That's what he was too busy getting stoned and high on things to cheat on his wife. Okay. That's where his thing was. If you want to know who the person was, Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger has 62 illegitimate kids. He only recognizes 27 or 28 of them. Yeah. Also, again, one of the smartest people I've met in the industry. Mick Jagger. Very arrogant, thinks that he could sell his crap in a can, as essentially. Probably could, but I never forget I was in a party and with David Bowie and him, and I was just listening to him, and they knew every single venue, every single stadium, how long it took, what airport. I mean, it was unbelievable. How many um, docks they had for trucks, and it was amazing, amazing. And this is just off the top of their head. Okay, very smart. Um, you can't. You have to look to natural things. So there, for most drugs, they have a natural origin. I put it to you, you're only going to need about, for example, for my high blood pressure, I'm probably going to need about a month, month and a half of it because after that, I'll have lost not only my 100 pounds, I probably lost my 130 pounds, and I would have been forced into getting myself into shape. Period. And no snacking, none of this stuff, and whatever. So the reality is that I'll be able to over the next 3 4 months taper off all my drugs because I just will not need them. If I got my ass into really good shape like I was 40 years ago, I know for a fact I probably wouldn't need any of this stuff. I still need, aspirin, things like this every once in a while. But aspirin, you can look up any home remedies. There's lots of books on that. I suggest you download them into your phone, iPad, whatever, because my wife recently she did an incredible thing. She went and she harvested ramps and dandelions, and she took the dandelion roots and she roasted them up in pans, and she ground them up and made a tea out of it. It was very actually pretty good. She did before the flowers opened up. Supposedly, if you do it before the flowers open up, it does taste bitter. Oh yes, I know this, but you have to understand. Um, I mean, my problem is weight. When I was 477 pounds, I was a number two diabetic. I had a lot of problems, and it was all caused by fat. Being fat, still fat now. I weigh 336 pounds. Um, but the weekend I had up in Vermont, I was active and I felt really good. I do better when I'm up there and I'm doing things. You have to do stuff. You got to walk the dog. Today here I can just let the dog out. Can't let him out there. He'll end up being somebody's dinner. 60 is the new 40, as they say. So uh, it's all about losing weight. Rick, I'm asking a question. The Rick, listen to me. You are 100 pounds lighter right now. Do you think you have a lot of the medical problems that you have? Just saying. So, yeah. So, I mean, I'm gonna start losing anywhere between 5 to 6 pounds a week, about 15 pounds a month, and I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna do it again. Gonna work my butt off and get things done and enjoy myself. I love splitting wood. In order for me to do that, I got to hook up the new carburetor propane thing to that thing, and that means I got to weld stuff to the tractor and everything else. But definitely, I gotta I gotta pray about this, but I gotta kick myself in the butt and get off my butt and do it. So I get my other vaccine shot this weekend. I'm looking forward to that because I can then go on base again with my son and do things for him. So he definitely needs help. He needs a lot of my help in June. My other son is coming in June. So looks like he's going to be getting engaged. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. I built a hydraulic splitter. I built it 26 years ago. And the problem it's always been is this fuel. It always rips apart the carburetor every year. Rips maybe every 2 years. So instead, what I did was I bought a conversion kit to convert the Briggs 4.5 horsepower engine to propane, and I'm going to run it off propane. I am looking forward to that because I know my oil's going to last a lot longer, and I know that I'm not going to have any problems with the fuel, and I know that it's going to run. Well, you got to find out the secrets of Fauci. I mean, Fauci knew about the Wuhan back in 2005. He also knew that Hotel Charlie Quebec was a cure back in 2005. This is all going to come out. He also knows that masks are worthless. Knows it. Okay. Knows that the mask he was wearing at the congressional hearing is absolutely worthless. Worthless. If he had a tuberculosis, it would be helpful, but not that. He'd have to be wearing a surgical mask, not a piece of cloth. Okay. Then, yes, TB is extremely contagious, and then he would be doing the you and me a service if he was in our presence wearing that. Okay. But bacteria is a hell of a lot bigger than a virus. Okay. And that is a fact. If you don't believe me, again, look up viruses, specifically the size of the coronavirus. Then look up the size. Go to Google, CD surgical, and they'll tell you exactly what these surgical masks can stop. And even they have a liability on them says will not stop COVID-19. It's right on the box. Won't stop any viruses. Can't. Can stop certain particulate matter like pollen. But even then, you have your eyes. They're not shielded. Yeah, exactly. Well, if you listen to X-Ray Deuce and other people, they say it's all part of the plan and to bring us up to the precipice and everything else. I'm telling you right now, okay, the precipice was hit on January 20th. No ifs, ands, or buts. People basically became extremely disencouraged because they saw that their vote did not matter. Well, they're not only a little smaller, they're smaller, they're they're 1/16 of your hair follicle, of a hair shaft. So think about one hair out of your head, and it's 1/16 of that. Can you take one hair, okay, and push it through that mask? Answer: yes. You can definitely do it. But you see, they want you to be wearing the napkins because it's a sign of obedience. It's a sign of control. That's what doesn't mean that, you cannot, just like they're doing in New York State. New York State has an app that you have to put on your phone if you want to travel to show and prove that you've had a vaccine. Meanwhile, they just dropped 108,000 illegals, undocumented people here. 50% of them even said we're positive for COVID, and none of them had the vaccine. So how do you have these tremendous contrasts in criteria? Okay, what did Jim Jordan say? He and others said, Dr. Fauci, these people are being kept underneath this dirt pile, and all, within 6 inches of each other, and and a lot of them are positive. Is this good? Is this appropriate, Dr. Fauci? I'm not going to make an excuse. I mean, my obesity is mine. Okay. I know exactly how I got there. I know exactly how I lost. I lost a lot of weight. I lost a lot of weight. I used to, like I said, I was 477 pounds. So basically 480. Okay. So, like I said, I'm down to 330. I'm probably 335 now. I didn't weigh myself today. I was 336 in the doctor's office, but that was my sneakers and my jacket and all that kind of stuff. So, but I still say I have 100 pounds to lose. I'm not kidding myself. I have to have 100 pounds to lose. Do I feel better than I did when I was 480 pounds? Yes, absolutely. What was I when I had my stroke? I was down to 350. Okay. So basically, there's one way to do it. I had 2 eggs this morning and 1 English muffin. That was my breakfast. What else did I have? I had a can of tuna fish for lunch. That was my lunch. What am I gonna eat for dinner? Um, I'm probably gonna make. Um, I might make a burger, or I'll just have some chicken, a chicken sandwich, no cheese, just honey mustard on it that I make, no salt, just some pepper. That's how you lose weight. You lose weight because you don't eat. And then you increase your physical activity. What am I going to have to fill myself up? Like I had last night. I'll probably either have popcorn, which I had last night, hot air popcorn, or I'll make myself a baked potato. That's how you do it. And my doctor wanted me to have surgery. You have to have surgery. I'm like, no, I'm not going to have surgery. No. Okay. I know that once I get out and I start walking again, like I did up in Vermont, it's raining today. It actually snowed earlier. I'll be able to do a lot of things. Once I can go to the dog park again, I'm going to start doing the dog park every day, like I did before. And once I start doing that, walking a half an hour, that'll help. And then doing more physical things here. Like I said, even when I'm using the hydraulic splitter to split the logs, but I got to move the logs in place to split them, and I got to carry them and stack them. That's where the exercise comes in. Believe it or not, when you split logs with a hydraulic splitter, it's much safer to do it that way because the splitter only was like this. Even though I still wear my chaps because I've had logs blow up and pieces of wood stick into my Kevlar chaps. Okay, and there are some times when I need a hatchet to break apart wood, but you know, I feel good because all of a sudden, you split wood and you have a cord of wood, so you feel like you've accomplished something. Unlike I feel terrible on the Bowflex. I run out of gas, and what you do is you see this little. It's not the same thing. You have something there, okay, that's tangible that you can use. I like that. Well, like I said, people are, attack me over the vaccine. I'm not telling you to get the vaccine. I'm telling you why I got the vaccine. Number one, my cardiologist told me to get the Pfizer vaccine. It wasn't available. I said, "Well, can you give me a letter?" He said, "No, not in New York. It's catch as catch can." I prayed about it. Lo and behold, I go to Walgreens to give me the Pfizer one. I had no ill effect. Why do people have some ill effects? I can tell you why. They inject the thing because these people don't know what to do. I'm like, bah. It's almost like injecting fuel into my diesel. Like, bah. And I was like, hey. So then I'm just it left like a lump of the shot. Okay, so for the half an hour I'm sitting there and I'm rubbing my shoulder and I'm spreading it out. I had no ill effects. I had no soreness, no nothing. Okay, and I think it's um the way I don't had it is because, but like I said, for my reasons, I had to have it because I have to help my son. He's now 18 months away from when he's going to have to move again. Everything that was moved by the Navy people that they get because they get the cheap, they destroyed his stuff. You saw the condition of his stuff. Anyway, no, I have to have carbs. If I don't have the English muffin, I crash at 11 o'clock. I have to have it. I have to have at least one English muffin. Okay, I'm 6'4". 336 pounds. Okay, 334. It doesn't matter. Okay, I'm 6'4". I'm a big guy. Okay, if good faith with you, I could tell you I'm not exactly a little guy, big guy. Okay, so yeah, I have to have some carbs because I crash. Have to have it. I have a um, inside. It's 24 feet exactly. It's a Hallmark. It's a custom. They don't make it anymore. It's a custom trailer. It has twin 8,000 pound axles. So it means that I can basically haul 8,000 pounds with the thing, if not more. Okay, probably more. I know I was up to about. One of my son's stuff. He moved his escape with his escape with everything in it because he packed it up too with his gun safe and everything. So his car, which normally weighs about 2,800 pounds, which is a hybrid escape, it then weighed 5,700 pounds. The car alone. So I moved that in first, tied it down, and then proceeded. He proceeded to move in a lot of the stuff around it, and from that, I can tell you right now, the next time I move him, he's gonna put more. There was still some room left. Okay. Yeah, there won't be any room the next time I move him. So yeah. And God helped me with that move. And it was an epiphany for me because it was the first time I did that kind of driving since my stroke. So it definitely worked out to my advantage. Um, I have no idea. I know what I got. My wife got the Moderna, whatever shot. She had to get it. So yeah, they're making it more mandatory for her. She wants to practice law. She has to take the shot. I got gout from the medication they had me on. I got gout and kidney stones. It turns out that the two pills, the HTC and the hydro something, were giving me gout. It's right there in WebMD. It says right there if you take both of them, you have a 15% chance in some people by getting it. Then that's what I was getting. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I had the shot. I'm getting the second one on Sunday. Okay. So then I'll have my full vaccination. I'll be able to go on base because they're still in Charlie. Okay. There's still the Navy secretary, who's temporary, still worries more about um, uh, transgendered people and things like this than what's going on with the largest navy in the world, and that's China. And what's going on? Okay. And like I said, you see these people here? They're all going to be on the front lines. Why are they all going to be in the front lines? Because of the Obama Biden policies, they had very little people make it through the academy. They had no graduates from New York. They had no graduates from other states. They had very little people make it through the academy that were qualified to be aviators. Even of the 14 that made it and qualified in my son's class, 6 of them washed out. Because passing is a grade of 95. What? Why? Well, number one, they're flying hundreds of $1 million aircraft onto a $12.5 billion ship. So it's not exactly, you can't make a mistake, okay? And it's complicated. So even if you have the skill and the ability, you have to have the courage. Because it's one thing to be able to do it all nice and calm and everything else. It's a totally other thing to do it in wartime when things are not going right. And the things that our Navy does is things that the world really does not understand or know about and can do yet. And the reason why they do it is because of the personnel. Yes, the equipment, but it's the people. That ballet that you see on the flight deck is critical to getting those planes off and on in every step of the way, whether it's a helicopter, whether it's E2C, Hawkeye, F-18, F-30, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The Marines had to get it. So's my son. My son's already had his shots. Thank you very much. Winged indefinitely. Any questions? Any other questions? People giving resolutions? No. Well, unfortunately, we have to do what we have to do, right? So he's underneath orders, which means even if he wanted to get out, he can't. Because they don't have enough pilots, qualified pilots. They don't have enough, right? These guys do not have a choice. I don't know about your Army. I don't know about other services. I know about the Navy. I know about the aviators. That's what I really know about. Okay. At a moment's notice, they can be called upon to go on deployment, to fly. There's already fly to a fleet. Okay. They were flown. Several of them were flown in the past 2 years all over the place because they had a show of force. A lot of pilots were down with COVID. A lot of them. Not that they were sick, but they were quarantined because they tested positive. So they couldn't do anything. Okay. Some of them got sick. Some of them washed out because they got sick. They didn't pass the medical. You have to be in ridiculous condition to do what these guys do, girls. You have to understand this. It's not like normal stuff. It's not. There's a lot involved that you don't see. Okay. You have no idea. For a mission that they have to fly in the morning, they have to get up at usually 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. They shower and wash up and then take mid-rats and then get their briefings. The briefings last for about an hour to 2 hours, and then they're on the deck before the sun comes up. They have the pre-flight with the plane captains and everything else, and then they go. When they go, they can be in the jet for 10 hours. 10 hours. You have no idea what they have to do before they come back and land. And usually the landing is harder than the flight. And now they have to worry about my son had to go a half an hour, take him 30 minutes, even though there was a John literally 20 feet from his room. He had to go across the ship because it was designated women. So here he is with his robe and his slippers, and he's going up and to go across the ship. No, you don't just turn a corner, go across. Oh, no. You have to go down 2 flights, go across the ship, and go up 2 flights. And this is not an escalator or stairs per se. No, these stairs are like this, okay? Because the ship was not designed for multiple sexes. It was designed for one sex. Now, I have no problem with women being on ship. I do have a problem having multiple sexes, things like this. Okay. No, you want to be on ship, you want to be in the military, one bathroom, both sexes, or however many. I don't give a damn. Okay. just like Starship Troopers. Boom. Okay. Period. Done. Because having him already an hour of time to go to the bathroom head to wash up, and then another half an hour to cross the ship again, wet, before, versus his other compadre right outside the door. Is that fair? Is that equal? No, it's not equal. It's not fair. Doesn't make any sense. What did it do? Made his life at risk and him more tired. That's what it did. All for political correctness. The military is not politically correct. The military is about the best people, period. The best people to be the most lethal people. Because what you want is the most lethal, light military to defend yourself, to defend our Constitution, our country, period. Okay. And my son says all this crap will be thrown out the door as soon as we're in a real hot war again. And he's absolutely correct. And unfortunately, he'll say about 3,000 to 4,000, maybe 6,000 people will die in one day because of these policies. And if we survive that, they'll throw them all out the door. That's the truth. Whether they're women in the ranger school or something like this, whether they're whatever it is, doesn't matter. Okay. Now, personally, you ready? I don't believe that women should be on the front lines. Not because they're not capable. That's not the reason why. I don't believe that. No. It's the reason why is because they are the only ones that can procreate the species. So as a species, as a person between men and women are more valuable. Because men can't have babies. I don't care what Google says. Men cannot have babies. Okay? Men cannot wet nurse babies. Does that mean that women don't have a role? No, women have a role. Sure. Women definitely have a role. No question about it. However, you're going to find out then when the shit hits the fan, as per se, their other role is going to become way more valuable and way more apparent than anything else. And that's the truth. You'll never hear that from these other people, but the reality is that they need to be protected, not put in harm's way. You're seeing Scroll TV. Look, my son has had Rios and everything else. I mean, questionably great women. There's no question. But I'm saying this. You would not have the problem of prostitution. You would not have the problem of all these things that are going on in the Navy or any military if you had the way it used to be. Okay? Because of the fact that though I'm going to tell you're going to listen to me right now. You ready? We're going to lose 50% of our carriers. If a conflict happens with Russia or China, we're going to lose maybe 3/4. And the thing that's going to be horrific is going to be is going to be you'll see all the parents of these daughters. They won't be talking about the men. They'll be talking about the daughters. They're talking the mothers. They're talking about the women who will never be mothers. I'm telling you. Yeah, well, that's just not going to happen because again, the sun will not be denied. The earth will not be denied. What's going to happen is this whole thing with the sun. It's going to cause wars. When you cut supplies, when you cut everything, anything else that's working is going to be, it's just the truth. It's the brutal truth, but it's the truth. Look, over 40 years ago, I was homeless and I was living out of my car. I survived on $100 a month. I know what it's like to survive on a jar of peanut butter and jelly and a loaf of bread for the week. You're hungry all the time. I was so hungry, I was considering killing an alligator. There were tons of them. And cooking it. Considering it. And if I didn't get a job at an FBO, I probably would have. The Delta Sierras need to do that in order to do their Agenda 21 and the chaos. But what they don't understand is that there's going to be another chaos. Now, a lot of the systems on a ship, specifically a carrier and other kinds of ships, they're hardened. But I just don't want to go there. I really don't. I don't want to think about it. So, I suggest that you get yourself a shortwave packet radio. I suggest you don't need to get your ham license. You don't to use it and listen to it. To receive stuff, you don't need anything. To transmit, and when the crap hits the fan, you won't believe me. You won't have to worry about it. I can tell you this from everything that's going on and from everything that's heating up. You're going to see whether you want to or not. Okay, you're going to see huge increases in the prices of food. So I suggest you buy as much as you possibly can afford now because it's just going to go up. It's just going to get more expensive. Okay. I suggest that you stock up on your medications as much as you possibly can. And I suggest you start getting yourself in shape and fit, no matter how old you are. Push yourself every single day. So that, and you definitely need water. You definitely have to have a way of filtering the water. And you definitely have to have a way of distilling water. That's making water from polluted water or making water from salt water. You have to have a way to do it. There's all over the YouTube, tons of ways. A lot of them are banned. The pack radio I have right now, it's in my van, is banned. Even though I have a license, it doesn't matter. They banned it. Note to, I mean, they're controlling everything right now. They're controlling what you hear, what you see. They want fear. I'm telling you, you don't have to fear anything. If you're saved and the Holy Spirit is with you, you don't have to fear anything. But God wants you to survive to see his glory. He wants you to survive. He wants you to spread his word of love and mercy. In order for you to do that, in order for you to help others, and in order for you to spread his grace, you have to get yourself into condition. You have to get yourself into food. You have knowledge. Believe me, you do. Learn. They can't take that away from you. Learn. Learn how to stuff. Look, save your ashes. Take a bowl jar, go into your next fire of anything, and put it all into a jar. Okay? Yeah, just simple ashes. Put it all into a jar. If you just take those ashes, about a quarter's worth of those ashes, put into a roll of paper, regular toilet paper, roll it up with a paper towel, and then put between a board and another flat board and roll it really hard, fast. Yeah, you'll turn into a hot amber. It'll get, and that you can use on tinder and light a fire. It's really simple. God left many ways of us creating fire. Many ways. Okay. Knife. Get yourself a good K-bar knife. Marine K-bar knife. Not Navy. Navy doesn't have the serrated edge. Marine has the serrated edge. Okay, they sell them on Amazon. They're not expensive. A good sheath knife is worth its weight in gold. Okay, learn how to sharpen it. Okay, learn how to sharpen it. Learn how to use a whetstone. Learn how to do these things now. Practice them. Look up a Dakota pit, Dakota fire pits. So basically, you're building like a rabbit tunnel in the ground. It's only a tunnel that's about 3 feet in the ground. It's really about 2 feet apart at the top. Okay. And you're digging the hole in the fire is going to be in the bottom of that tube. Okay. So you're hiding your fire, you're protecting from fire hazards, everything else, but you're cooking. Okay. Learn how to use things, learn how to do things. Go to the dollar store, buy lots of cheap candles, lots of canned food. Don't worry about soup, buying soup. Soup is probably one of the most nutritious things you can buy. Okay. Besides that, it has liquid water in it and it's preserved. Remember, you're going to need a gallon a day of water. Without electricity, there is no water pumps. There's no sanitation. If you're in a suburb or a city, listen to my channel. Go to my Patreon page. I've showed you. You got to get out. Pack up a bag, put it in your car, keep your car full. You got to get out. You got to get up to the mountains. You got to get away. If you're there, you're dead. No, they don't track and trace. No. If they want to, you can just walk in any store and they can dust your microchips. But the reality is, if you walk through any of their I just had a medical procedure, okay? I just had an MRI. So if there was any, if there was any microchips in me, they were all dead. Okay, they're all shorted out. Okay, they're all bye bye. No. like I said, you don't have to take the vaccine. I had to do it because I had a choice to make because I want to help my son. My son has enough stress on his shoulders. He has to worry about his wife. He has to worry about his kids. He has to worry about his household. He has to worry about survival. He has to worry about what he does for a living. I didn't want him to worry. I wanted to take that worry away. I wanted to be able to say, son, whatever happens, I'm there. You know I'm there, and I'll be there, and I'm there. Mom and I are ready, and we'll whatever it takes. That made him. You had to see his like that. It's a big thing. And in the end, that can be the difference between life and death. I told you, when I had my stroke, I celebrated my 6th anniversary on the 10th. And I told my wife, and I told his wife, I really told his wife through my wife, I said, don't tell Bobby. My son was on deployment. I said, he does not need this stuff going through. He can't do anything. They're not going to send him back here. He does not need this running through his head while he's trying to land on a ship or any of the things that he does. Does not need this. He was pissed at me, big time. I mean, really pissed when I finally met up with him. He was, I'm a naval officer, lieutenant, a nice day thing, and all that. Good condition, and the sit rep is important, and blah, 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 blah. I said, yeah, well, can tell you what. You will find out why I did what I did when you have a son or daughter. Back then, I didn't know what it was going to be. But I knew he was going to have a kid. I said, you'll see. No. Okay. Of course, he has a son. And then he was crying like a baby. Because he was holding his son in his arms, and then it's like a switch. Just like when I was holding him. I'd never forget it. It's a ping. Your whole life changes. Everything changes. And now you're putting that person first, period. Over like that. No. My son is probably one of the bravest people you've ever met. Probably one of the humblest people you've ever met. And no. So it's important to understand because I forgave him when he was doing it. I mean, because I understood. It was all coming from love of me and concern. And I get that. But then he understood. And he couldn't understand fully until he had his own son. And then he understands. He knows there's nothing he wouldn't do to, well, there it is. So, no, if anything, that shows any man that's willing to cry in front of people, any man that's willing to show true emotions is an honest man. He's a Christian. He's an honest man, and that's a really brave man. It doesn't take a brave man if to do what he does. It takes a brave man to realize the danger and overcome the fear and then do what he does. That is true bravery. Okay. Only a mad person doesn't recognize that. And if you've been part of my Patreon channel and see the kind of stuff my son does, you have to, you have no idea. No idea. Okay. You just don't understand. So yeah, I flew a simulator. I landed on the ship. Great, and I didn't crash, and I didn't have a problem, and I did approaches and everything else. Absolutely fine. Why? Well, I knew that if I did, it's no big deal. It's called reset, and I'm still sitting in the simulator, and I know exactly where I am, and not getting, you know, you're not going. It's not the same. There's there's no fear of peril. Okay, if you make a mistake, it's no good. Okay, you have a respawn. No problem. It's like a video game. No, that's stupid, Peggy. It's more important if people listen and they realize that their threat is real, that CMEs are real, that we're this close to becoming a type 1 civilization, to where all this BS that's going on right now, this want and everything, will not happen. If you get the Holy Grail tech, all these evil entities will lose all their power. Okay? They will lose everything because energy will be so inexpensive, which is the real money. Food will become inexpensive, and other technologies will be opened up in such a renaissance of stuff. It'll be like the next generation of Star Trek. That'd be for real. Okay. So then you won't have this I want. Okay. You'll have two classifications of people: people who want to sit and do the M word all day and live in a fantasy, or people who actually want to go out and live and do things with their life. That's what you'll have. If they want to work and do things with their life and be part of the future and the adventure of humanity, they'll be able to do it. If they want to just sit and do nothing all day, they'll be able to do it. And they'll waste away and die. They won't procreate. You're seeing it now. How many stars, how many people you see and the in life do you see that they're just for me. They're not kids. They're not parents. They're not. It takes a certain devotion to be the proper kind of parent. Believe me. You have to devote yourself to it. You have to think about what you're doing. You have to plan for their future. You have to plan for your future. You have to and you have to sacrifice to do that. The sacrifice is a plus. The most rewarding thing I ever did was be a father. Most rewarding, no question. But you make sacrifices. Don't call you stupid. Well, it's a sin to not prepare. It's a sin not to try. It's like saying the house is on fire and I'll just let it burn. Yeah, just that window's on fire. Do you see what I'm saying? That's the analogy. That's a real analogy. That's not a very good thing to do. That is stupid. Okay. That's a waste of his grace. That's a waste of his glory. Glory is fighting and trying to the end, not giving up. Fighting and trying. You don't fight by just saying, oh, well, yeah, it was wonderful. Oh, well. No, you fight. So, with that, and somebody telling me only a few listening, because everybody loves the truth. Think about it. What's the truth? God exists. Jesus died for our sins, and he did it for a reason. Not for you to sit and play with your thumbs and wait for the Lord to come. That's not what this says. That's not what this book says. That's not what it says. Okay? One of the things that's very bad is procrastination. What's even worse is knowing something and not doing anything about it. If you want to do something about it, share this video. Like the video. Tell others. It was not Ford and Toyota that caused the climate to change from the last ice age. No, it was the sun. I want you guys to have a great weekend. I want you to be with the Lord first in your mind. And pray about what I said. Look up what I said, and you'll see I'm telling you the truth. God bless.